All right. After a little bit of a hiatus, we're back on the podcast, episode 17. My co-host, Daniel, aka Donnie, has been writing exams. How have the exams been so far?
Yeah, I can't complain, Jazz. Bit of a different format to what I'd expected. We're obviously writing from home over a 24-hour period for each exam. So it's a different vibe, much less rote learning and much more sort of analysis heavy, pros and cons. Yeah, but halfway through, and that's decent.
Definitely. And at least you had some fights to distract you this weekend. I only got to watch two fights. I got to watch the main event, Woodley and Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
Did you catch that fight?
Yeah, I caught them all. Actually, I've got this very bad sleep pattern during lockdown. So I'm up until like at least 2 a.m. And then that night, I think I was up until 2:30 or 3. And then I clicked that it was fight night. So I basically watched all the fights live, and the sun was out when I got to sleep, but it makes it a bit of a blur. Woodley Burns, man, yeah, I felt a bit bad for Woodley. Burns was a better fighter sort of in every aspect of the game. Woodley just looked like 38 might be a bit of a push for him. You know, you can see the intelligence, you can see the skill just in surviving in the early rounds. But you might be looking at a fighter who's just got to recognize that he had an amazing run, but it's a little bit, he's past his prime. But it makes for an exciting division. I don't know, what did you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought Burns looked phenomenal. He was the aggressor throughout the whole fight. He was mixing it up with leg kicks, punches, takedowns. I thought Woodley, just didn't look like the Woodley of old. He wasn't aggressive enough, especially when I thought like he would know that he's behind in rounds. I thought something that was weird is he kept backing up against the fence, which was an easy way for Gilbert to kind of control the octagon and trap him. And you'd see like he would work when the clinch would eventually come when he'd shoot for a takedown. Woodley had to work so hard to separate them, and then he would go back to the fence. So there was a lot of things he was doing. I think Rogan was talking about that, and it just didn't make me feel like he was a fighter that really wanted to win that fight. But yeah, I love T Wood. He's an amazing athlete, but definitely Gilbert outclassed him. It was super impressive. And the jiu-jitsu, obviously we jiu-jitsu guys, that's the sport we really love. And when you know how it feels having a guy, I've never rolled with anyone of that level, but I know what it feels like to have a black belt on top of me. So just with his jiu-jitsu alone, he's a dangerous guy. So
the last role I had before lockdown was with my black belt coach in London, because I got Jeff as well. He's a brown belt that has been on the podcast before. But my black belt coach, Edge, who's a pro MMA fighter. So this like lasting imprint I have of rolling is just being like played with, and just like the pain of alternating knees on belly, left, right until you can't breathe. So I think Woodley was clearing the cobwebs for the whole fight. Round one was so bad that he just never was quite back in it on a level playing field. And I also had this strange feeling between rounds that his corner almost knew, like it wasn't gonna turn around. Because Din Thomas is almost saying to him, like, come on, man, like just like pleading with Tyron to like almost roll back the years, 3 or 4 years. He couldn't do it.
I mean, there's such an interesting landscape at welterweight, so now Gilbert is one. You've got the champ in Usman. I mean, you're looking at fights for him. Either it could be Masvidal, could be Kobe Covington. Then you throw Gilbert in the mix. What would you think would be next for Gilbert? I mean, I don't see him getting a title shot, but he could definitely get like a number one contender fight.
Yeah, it's going to be very strange.
And got to throw in Leon Edwards there too in that bracket of guys.
So that could be a very good a good fight for him, is the Leon Edwards fight. I don't think Leon Edwards has a fight signed at the moment, because he was meant to fight Woodley in London.
Yes, I actually saw a tweet from him today saying that he's ready to go. UK airports are open, so hopefully that can maybe happen soon.
Oh, so maybe I should look at getting home then.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. No, I think that would be a really good fight for him. Look, Tyron was number one, was ranked as the number one contender. They announced at the beginning of the fight. So, which is fair enough. I guess he'd lost one fight after a really strong title run.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Usman's got to fight Masvidal. I think, you know, I don't know how that fight doesn't happen. He's beaten Covington, and Masvidal's got to be the next in line. And it's a fight that, you know, people want to see Masvidal fight.
Yeah.
So I can't see who else Usman could defend the title against next. People have spoken about Conor. You know, I think Conor's got to win a big fight at 155. You know, and I mean, he can get that fight. He could probably get Gaethje before Khabib gets Gaethje if he wants it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's right. I feel like Masvidal and Usman makes a lot of sense. So maybe I would love to see Gilbert Colby or Gilbert Leon Edwards. I mean, those fights would all be amazing. But yeah. I do feel Masvidal needs to fight for the title. It's just, he's a big name. His performances, yeah, it's time.
Yeah, for sure. Which was the other one you caught?
I watched Spike Carlisle versus Quarantillo.
Yeah.
Great fight. Actually, there was a lot of complaints from the media and from the fans because they didn't get fight of the night, but that's who all the fans felt should have got it. And Dana was like, all right, I'm going to sort them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy fights. What's his name? Spike. That guy.
Spike Carlisle, the Alpha Ginger. The funny thing is,
a little bit cooked in the head.
Yeah. He actually went to school with a very good friend of mine in San Diego.
All right.
Yeah, so he's got like quite a big fan base in San Diego.
Sweet.
So I've got to see if we can try figure out a way to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll get him on you, man. I mean, get him on you and he can tell us why he turns and walks away from a fight with 5 seconds left.
That was crazy.
That was epic. I mean, a crazy fight, good fight. Good win for Mr. Quarantello,
yeah,
whatever his name is. Yeah, it was cool. The other fight that stuck out for me was just I say that, but what is her name? Was it not Macy Barber? I always get confused between Macy Barber and this.
Wasn't Mackenzie Dern?
Mackenzie Dern, yeah, Mackenzie Dern. Just to see like some high level jits in the women's divisions is epic. Just like that knee bar was vicious.
Yeah,
the knee bar is always so intense to watch because you just think if the ref takes 1 second too long, you know, there's always the split second break between the tap and the ref getting involved, and then the fighter recognizing that the ref's saying stop. And you know, with things like heel hooks, knee bars, that split second can cost you a year of your competitive life, you know.
100%.
So you watch it and you just like, wow, it's wonderful, and then you're also like, oh, almost worse than a clean knockout, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to go back and finish up that fight card between today and tomorrow. For sure.
That was a spoiler for you.
No, I'd seen the results, so don't worry. Yeah, that's cool. All good. And then Don, I'm super stoked for this upcoming fight that's happening. It looks like this coming Saturday at the UFC Apex. They're up and running in Vegas again, which is awesome. And it's headlined by Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer. Super stoked to see Amanda fight again.
Yeah.
And then a fight that really stands out to me is Cody Garbrandt's coming back after 3 straight losses against Rafael Sanzal, who's an absolute beast. So that's going to be a really exciting fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that Cody's, you know, got the same skill sets as before, which he's looked like having, particularly in his last fight. He's just got to sort of get his mind right, keep calm, pick his spots. You know, he needs a sort of Justin Gaethje mind shift where, you know, he's got to know what he can do, but he's got to be willing to be patient with it.
100%.
Yeah. And
it's a tough spot for Cody too. I mean, well, for him, because, you know, three losses in a row. I mean, it'd be hard to swallow a fourth, you know, and Sansao is one hell of a guy to be coming up against with your back up against the wall like this.
Yeah. And I think Aljamain's on that card.
Aljamain Sterling is fighting Corey Sandhagen, who is 12-1 with a good record.
Yeah.
And then there's Neil Magny and Anthony Rocco Martin. And then another fight that I'm super excited for is Sean O'Malley versus Eddie Wineland.
Oh yeah, O'Malley's fighting again. Yeah, I mean, I was so excited. O'Malley's last fight after that long break, and he had like some ridiculous stuff with weed, and I don't know if he was banned for like, there was some substance stuff that just didn't check out. But his last fights, I mean, remember when Conor McGregor was coming up, and his striking was just world class, and the game almost had to catch up, and he had like championship level stand up already fighting like lower ranked guys, and it was just beautiful to watch. And I feel like that's what we're seeing with Sean O'Malley. If you look at the last fight, he's just had that confidence that comes from this level of like, you're not with me, you're not up to this. Very exciting, man. And it's a flamboyant kind of like, you know, crafty, creative style as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see him. As you say, it's like an art form in there with him, just the way he flows and moves, and I'm stoked for that one.
Yeah.
And then just to wrap up, Don, did you want to touch on something you read today, or a little bit of some history from your book, or are we going to save that for the next podcast?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been working. My girlfriend says I'm like the only person who is writing a book while they should be studying for exams. But I am not writing it flat out, but I'm working on like the research and the interviews involved in what I hope is eventually a book on the history of judo and karate in South Africa. Probably more judo because judo came first and judo is so closely connected to jiu-jitsu. But judo and karate and their development is also very closely linked. But it's a longer discussion, so I think I'll save it for maybe another show where we got a bit more time. But just to say, it's really, really interesting the way that judo developed in obviously Japan, how that influenced what went down in Brazil, how it spread to England, and obviously South Africa was a British colony at the time. So how that flowed here. The racial dynamic in South Africa is obviously like a huge part of the story. And the connection between judo and jiu-jitsu and judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu is all really cool stuff. And I'm loving researching it.
So it's awesome. I'm loving to hear the stories about it. But can you give the fans, Don, a little bit of an idea when your book is going to drop? I mean, come on.
Look, I think the book, it depends, you know. I'll tell you this, for example, okay? About a year ago, I found out about this guy who, his name's Wilcox Mkulo, and he was the black judo champion of South Africa in the early 60s. And he left, obviously, understandably. He wasn't allowed to compete with a lot of people he would probably have beaten. And he went to Holland and then to Sweden. Until about a month ago, I didn't know he went to Sweden. I only knew he went to Holland. But in the last 2 weeks, I've found out a lot more about him. And I also got in touch with his daughter, who I didn't know existed. But I found through looking through the newspaper archives. And my point in telling you this is like, when this project is finished, you know, hopefully a book, is going to depend on where and when I find people and how I piece these stories together. And how busy I am with other things, because I have to do these other things, you know.
Write exams.
Got to write exams. Got to, like, you know, deal with the law. But I think circa late 2021 to mid 2022
awesome.
Is the dream. That's the dream.
Well, it sounds fascinating. I'm super excited to get my hands on it. Hope I get a signed copy.
Yeah.
All right, Don. Well, it was awesome being back on the podcast. I really missed it. I hope you don't take another long break, but I understand you got to knock off these exams. So I wish you the best of luck. And I know you got a bit of a quieter week, so hopefully we'll get another podcast in this week.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to chat to my first jiu-jitsu coach in South Africa. which will be really interesting.
For sure.
And looking forward to the next one. Don, do you want to end with anything, or is that a wrap?
No, that's a wrap, Jazz. Great to chat again.
Awesome, Don. Till next time.
Yep. Sweet.